In this video, we'll rationalize the denominator of the number which has the square root of 3 divided by the number square root of 7 minus 2. Now, what we want to note is that this is not as straightforward as if we just had the square root of 7 in our denominator. We will not be able to use, let's note real quick, that the square root of 7 over the square root of 7 won't work. Instead, we're going to look at that square root of 7 minus 2. So we will use, I'll have the square root of 7, I've got 2, but instead of having square root of 7 minus 2, I'm going to do square root of 7 plus 2, and that'll be divided by the square root of 7 plus 2. Again, a unit fraction, and I'm taking that square root of 7 and the 2, and then taking the expression that has the opposite sign. That's what I'm going to use to rationalize this denominator. Again, if we think about y, it's coming from the fact that a plus b, or a minus b times a plus b, whichever order we do those in, becomes a squared minus b squared. So taking this expression, I have the square root of 3 over the square root of 7 minus 2, and as my first step, I'll take that exact expression, root 3 over root 7 minus 2, and I will multiply by that unit fraction that has the square root of 7 plus 2 over the square root of 7 plus 2. Now I'll multiply the numerator, and I'll get the square root of 3 times the square root of 7 plus 2. That goes in parentheses. And then I'm dividing that by the square root of 7 minus 2, which I'll put in parentheses, times the square root of 7 plus 2, which I'll also put in parentheses. Now to multiply these through, that numerator, I'm going to distribute that square root of 3 across the square root of 7 plus 2. So we'll get the square root of 3 times the square root of 7 plus the square root of 3 times 2. And in the denominator, I can FOIL this, but the key is that because these are opposites, those two middle terms are going to cancel. So the square root of 7 times the square root of 7 is my first term. So I have the square root of 7 squared. And then the outside term would be 2 times the square root of 7. The inside term would be negative 2 times the square root of 7. So those two cancel. And then I have minus 2 times 2, or minus 2 squared. So in that denominator, I have the square root of 7 squared minus 2 squared. Simplifying one step further, that numerator, the square root of 3 times the square root of 7, will become the square root of 3 times 7, or the square root of 21. And then I am adding 2 times the square root of 3. We generally write the integers out front of the radicals there. So I'll move that into 2 times the square root of 3. Now that numerator is fully simplified. The square root of 21 does not have any perfect square factors, so it cannot be simplified further. And the square root of 3 also does not have any perfect square factors. Going down to the denominator, the square root of 7 squared is simply 7. And I'm subtracting 2 squared, so I have minus 4. So the denominator is 7 minus 4. My last step will be to turn that denominator into 3. So in the numerator, I'm going to have the square root of 21 plus 2 times the square root of 3. And in the denominator, I have 3.